Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Everyone, welcome to this meeting. Human Eminence and the Quran, which is called Zikr, and I'm going to talk about it today. These are some of the references, and these can help to look into other aspects of Zikr as well. And this is our contact. Outline of the presentation. Sharing some basics, a few quotes, 3 scenarios of nations, human self provides meaning to this universe, root of Zikr, and it is also pronounced as Dhikr, and so I just put it down here just for guidance. Process of self-development, and there will be some verses I'll share with you. The Quran is about the Zikr of man. Zikr of Allah decides to which category we belong in this life. Some aspects of Zikr, it's about human living. Verses illustrating Zikr in relation to a number of issues in life. And finally, I will conclude this presentation. Some basics. What I've done over here is, because Zikr relates to human cognitive abilities as well, that is the thought process. So I thought just to set the scene right, to bring out some points which are fundamentals, and we have gone through them previously as well. We are discussing the contents of this presentation because we have choice and intent and have intellect, which helps us to make sense of these contents. Our cognitive abilities have helped us to create the world around us. So the world which we see around us is based on human thought process. We do not enter the world by choice. It is via a biological process already in place, i.e., 2 individuals come together and bring each human being, planned or unplanned, into this world. It's a reproductive process similar to other mammals. So I thought just to mention it because draw our attention, and we have talked about it previously as well, that we come into this world through a biological process. And there are no choices involved. A child is never asked whether he or she wants to come to this life or not. Now, the third point is related to that. This child who arrives without being asked possesses the ability to choose and make decisions. We can end this process of bringing unplanned children into this world of chaos and conflict by establishing the system of Deen, in which every parent will know exactly what bringing a child into the world around them means. I thought just to put it down as a point even for discussion later on, because once the children have arrived, then they have choice and intent, and they were never asked. So the world which we have created around us should suit their choice and intent, and they shouldn't land up in the world in which they feel miserable and deprived, and a lot of their potentials never come out. And this world has to be based on permanent values. They will know that this child will have all that they desire to create a new life based on Iman and to develop their self. None of these children will be able to question their parents, why did you bring me into this miserable world? Because the word of Deen is free from fear and huzn. A lot of human beings who find themselves into a lot of problems in the world, they do question that what is the purpose of their existence. And their biological origin, they can't question it because they have landed up in this world without being asked whether they wanted to come here or not. So this is that question which I thought we should discuss. And this is part of Zikr. This world into which we enter is not created by us. We find it already created for us. And throughout human history, it has mostly been created based on choices made by human intellect outside the guidance of Wahi. So we know about it. The human intellect, which is not following Allah's guidance, can only create a world full of chaos, bloodshed, conflicts, pursuit of material conveniences, unequal distribution of resources, greed, injustice, inequality, discrimination, slavery, everything. And I have put down this verse here from Surah Al-Baqarah, where Malaika said that this human, Adam, who is being created, will create fasad and bloodshed in the world. And Allah said, if they follow my guidance, that is Allah's Wahi, then they will have a better world. There are also glimpses of creative activity, progressive evolution through trial and error experimentation, discoveries to acquire more power. Minority exists who refuse to accept the status quo and think a bit more deeply. They philosophize, write books and lectures, on the human condition, but those in power only listen and otherwise ignore this, and the misery for the majority continues. Despite the difficulties and the problems created by human intellect, and particularly the human intellect which is in power and controls the systems across the globe, there are people who think and question, and they also write it down, like Carl Jung and Erich Fromm, and we have referred to them quite frequently here in our talks. The Quran points to this ongoing phenomenon of human suffering until a Jamaat rises up in the light of the Quran, which is Wahi of Allah, and determines to bring in the system of Deen. Now, over here, I thought I'll use some quotes just to create some interest in our presentation. This is from Erich Fromm. Birth is only one particular step in a continuum which begins with conception and ends with death. All that is between these two poles is a process of giving birth to one's potentialities, of bringing to life all that is potentially given in the two cells. But while physical growth proceeds by itself, if only the proper conditions are given, the process of birth on the mental plane, in contrast, does not occur automatically. So he says that mental abilities do not develop automatically. There has to be a process for that. There has to be an environment for that. It requires productive activity to give life to the emotional and intellectual potentialities of man, to give birth to his self. I thought this is beautifully put by him, that we have to give birth to ourself, not just accept the self, ourself the way it is. It is part of the tragedy of the human situation that the development of the self is never completed. Even under the best conditions, only part of man's potentiality is realized. Man always dies before he is fully born. Of course, Erich Fromm did not know about the Quran, and he never had read books by Allama Pervez, because Allama Pervez wrote his books later on, and his Islam Challenge to Religion appeared far later. Over here, the point is that man can bring out most of his potentialities related to the physical world if we follow the Quran and create an environment for that. So that is the part which I wanted to point over here. And man always dies before he is fully born. And this is interesting as well, because he doesn't talk in his books, he doesn't talk of a life which follows our physical existence. Now over here I've quoted from Allama Iqbal's book, The Reconstruction of Religious Thought in Islam. The unceasing reward of man consists in his gradual growth in self-possession, in uniqueness and intensity of his activity as an ego. That is the self. Even the scene of universal destruction immediately preceding the day of judgment cannot affect the perfect calm of a full-grown ego. So over here, what he says is that if we develop ourselves, then that fear of death and that fear that I'm accountable for my deeds, that disappears. And that creates a calm within a fully developed ego. And this is very precise point which he has made in the light of the Quran. And this is this will provide some context to our discussion on zikr. It is open to man, according to the Quran, to belong to the meaning of the universe and become immortal. So immortality is in our hand, that how we live our life, and whether we, as we have discussed, we have Iman and Amal Saleh, then it is up to us. Then sky is the limit, really. There is no limit imposed by the Quran on us. By the self and the proportion order given to it, truly he succeeds that purifies it, and he fails that corrupts it. These are the verses from the Quran, chapter 91, verse 7 and 9 to 10. Life offers a scope for ego activity, and death is the first test of the synthetic activity of the ego. There are not pleasure-giving and pain-giving acts. There are only ego-sustaining and ego-dissolving acts. It is the deed that prepares the ego for dissolution or disciplines him for a future career. Personal immortality then is not ours as of right. It is to be achieved by personal effort. Man is only a candidate for it. Interesting that whatever we do in this life, we do either those deeds which take ourselves up or which take ourselves down. So we have to make a decision what sort of a deeds we do in this life. However, the ego must continue to struggle until he is able to gather himself up and win this resurrection. So resurrection in the hereafter, according to Allama Iqbal, is our choice, that whether we want to be resurrected or not. And it's a very interesting comment here, The resurrection, therefore, is not an external event, and it doesn't lie outside us. It is within us. It is the consummation of a life process within the ego. Whether individual or universal, it is nothing more than a kind of stock taking of the ego's past achievements and his future possibilities. And I like the term used here is of stock taking, where we take control of everything which we have done. That exactly how did we live our life, or if we have come to the Quran and we are fully aware of the consequences of not living life according to the permanent values, we take account of every thought and deed we are going to do. So stock taking will apply to both, to our future as well as to our present. And these are the two references. Few quotes to set the context of this talk. Now, I've taken it from Allama Pervez's book, The Life in the Hereafter, What Does the Quran Say? If a nation does not harness the forces of nature according to the physical laws, the question will not arise regarding the use of these forces according to Deen. Consequently, this nation's life on this earth will be dark and its future will be dark as well. However, if among this nation there are individuals who are dissatisfied with this way of life and make efforts so that changes can take place in the society within which they would then be able to live their lives according to Deen, then for these people, this worldly life will generally be difficult and unsatisfying, but their next life will be prosperous. These are the kind of questions which arise in our minds sometimes, that we live in a world which is a man-made world, and we are making efforts to at least making people apprised about the Quran and drawing their attention towards it while we are ourselves doing righteous deeds. So I thought this is very good and very encouraging, and it should provide us some kind of a satisfaction that our efforts will not go wasted. Second is the nation which harnesses the forces of nature, though it does not utilize them within the domain of the permanent values, its present life can be prosperous. However, the later part of the life of its people will be dark because they are not following the permanent values. But if there are some people in this nation who try to organize life according to the permanent values, the later life of such individuals will be bright. Third is the nation which harnesses the forces of nature and then brings them into use within the domain of the permanent values. Its present life will be prosperous and bright, and its later life will also be successful. This nation will then possess an Islamic system. However, if some people among this nation are unhappy to live in this system but continue to live under constraint, their later life will be dark. So it is all related to the kind of a world we create within our own self. And in whatever environment we are living, we have to make sense out of it. Human self provides meaning to the visible universe. Now, this is an interesting quote. I took it out of What is Islam? Who among us will say that indulgences and gratifications, those frustrations and regrets whose memory often visits us in the quiet of night shortly before sleep, intermixed with feelings of sorrow and pleasure, which produce the spectrum of the rainbow on the horizon of the heart, the tearful splashes of color they continually create, that those were not mine, but belong to someone else. And we know these are our thoughts, because having transformed due to the disappearance of the cells of my body and due to metabolism, I have ceased to exist a long while back. He has put it down in relation to the changes in our body and our thought process. But I took it slightly in a different context. I thought we should look at today's presentation of zikr from this point of view, that we have tremendous cognitive potentials, and the zikr, as mentioned in the Quran, does it cover all these aspects? So that is the point I'm trying to make. Our own experience, our own feelings are living evidence to this fact that I is the name of that established reality which always remains changeless despite the metabolism of the body. So we know our I does not change. I am still the same as I was 50 years ago. In the turbulent ocean of change, this radiant, luminous pearl, which is unfamiliar to change, is called the human self. So our sense of identity as an I, as a me, does not change as we live our life. It's amazing. The question before us is how to derive the best for our I from our physical existence before our physical death. So that is the question which Quran poses on us, that how can we get the best out of our life? And that is where zikr comes in. Understanding zikr in all its finest details leads us to unravel the Quranic procedure based on the permanent values and the divine attributes in order to turn ourselves into that being which can help to make this word into that reality to which the Quran repeatedly draws our attention. Our whole, by virtue of possessing an I, is far bigger than our physical self. Now, this is an important point. I'll repeat it. Our whole, by virtue of possessing an I, is far bigger than our physical self. So, if we are confined to our physical self, then we are confined to the problems of the physical self. Whereas I is far bigger than our physical self. And it is because it is controlling every aspect of our life, and that is where we have to focus, and that is where then zikr of I will come into play and holds the potentials to multiply and grow without known limits. When human potentials, known and not yet known, manifest themselves in the human world, these become an evidence of the Quran as being al-haq. So this is, I thought, is an important point. Root of zikr. Over here, I've noted the root of zikr. Preserving something, reminding with something, remembering something, has appeared opposite of forgetting. Fame is also called zikr, saying something good about someone. It includes eminence and dignity, and learning a lesson and giving advice. It's a very comprehensive term. When I looked at it, I was amazed that Lughatul Quran has covered it in detail, but I thought there is a lot more into it. The book is also zikr in which there are details of deen and also laws relating to nations. In relation to remaining firm-footed in battle and war, this is one aspect of it. Keeping all laws of Allah in front of one in every state and situation. Reflection on the creation of the universe. So thought process comes under it. Reaching some conclusion after intense reflection and reasoning. So Tawilul Ahadith will come under it. Protection of the bounties bestowed by Allah, reminding about some need. Historical accounts in relation to the rise and fall of nations also falls under it. Confronting non-deen powers with a view to establishing the laws of Allah. The laws of Allah are called zikr Allah. The secret of eminence and supremacy of the Muslim nation is zikr, as explained in the Quran. Keeping the laws and values of the Quran in front all the time in all decision making is zikr. Very comprehensive. Following haqq is zikr. Now, process of self-development outlined. It's very interesting. When I was going through it, the Bible Quran, and I looked at wider aspects, and I thought I'll quote all these, some of these verses, because there is a process of self-development outlined over here. The Quran says, Alam nashra laka sadraka. Have we not expanded your heart? Of course, in immediate context, it is addressed to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, but it is for all of us. And that is why Quran has also taught us dua, Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri, and there are a number of other aspects related to this aspect. So we want to acquire knowledge so that we can understand the purpose of our creation and the world around us. Wa rafana laka zikrak. I've omitted the verses in between. We can have a look ourselves. And raised high your zikr, the Quran provides eminence and loftiness. That when our heart opens up, our intellect opens up to the realities to which Allah wants us to be exposed, then what happens is that it increases or elevates our zikr. So we understand our significance in the context of deen. Fa inna ma'al usri yusra. And then the thoughts which come to our mind, because of this process, we think it's a very challenging task, but Quran then gives us reassurance. So verily with every difficulty, there is a relief as well. This is a very big subject in its own right, and we can discuss it maybe under question and answer. Wala rabbika fargab, and then the Quran says, and to your Rabb turn your attention. See, over here, Rububiyat is again comes in, that the purpose of opening up our heart and mind is to facilitate the system of Rububiyat. And in that process, initially there will be difficulties, but life will gradually become easier and easier as things start falling in place. Verses related to the whole of the Quran being zikr. And we have gone through this verse previously as well. لَقَدْ أَنزَلْنَا عَلَيْكُمْ كِتَابًا فِيهِ ذِكْرُكُمْ أَفَلَا تَعْقِلُونَ. This is a supreme reality as far as human creation is concerned, because Quran says we have sent down for you a book in which is your zikr. So Quran is about us. Will you not then use akal? So if we use akal, then we will understand that this is whole of this book is about us. And if we come to this conclusion, then the Quran really opens up itself to us. Inna nahnu nazzalna al-zikra inna lahu lahafizun. And then Quran, Allah has reassured us or assured us that the book is so important, and seeing that humans with low intellect are going to contaminate it and tamper it with their own desires, as it always happens, verily we have sent down the zikr and we will assuredly protect it. So it has been protected as well. Two very important verses. Firstly, the Quran covers all aspects of guidance for man. Hence, zikr here will mean every aspect which the Quran has covered. Secondly, this zikr is fully protected for all times, and the evidence of this lies within the Arabic text of the Quran. Next is importance of this zikr. وَمَنْ أَرَدَ عَنْ ذِكْرِي فَإِنَّ لَهُ مَعِيشَةً ضَنْكًا وَنَحْشُرُهُ يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ أَعْمَى. It's very interesting what Quran tells us based on evidence. But whosoever turns away from my zikr, that is what is noted in the Quran, verily for him is a life with narrowed down means of sustenance. We shall raise him up blind on the day of Qiyamah. And Qiyamah can be taken over here as the life of the hereafter. It can be taken as the later part of life, right, in this world as well, particularly when it is applicable to nations collectively. So Quran over here says that if you move away from those laws which Allah has revealed unto you, or which, as in those three choices earlier we discussed, those nations who do not follow those laws, then they suffer. And this is individually, it is applicable as well, because if individuals do not come to this zikr, then of course they might have a better life here and being the beneficiaries of the man-made system, but there will be nothing in the hereafter. Astawaza alayhim ash-shaytanu fansahum zikrallahi ulaika hizbu shaytani ala inna hizbu shaytani humul khasirun. Now we have gone through this verse previously as well when we went through Iblis and Shaitan. Shaitan has got the better of them, and Shaitan, as we know, these are human desires, our own desires outside without the benefit of wahi. So he has made them forget zikr of Allah. So our desires will never, if our desires remain outside the values of the Quran, then these will never ever let us come towards the book of Allah. They are the party of Shaitan, verily the party of Shaitan which will remain in loss. And loss over here means that because Quran takes into account the hereafter as well, and we should see it in that context. Of course, in the system of deen, then these things become evidence as well. But till the time that system of deen is not established, we have to look at it very closely and cognitively and analyze it. Zikr includes the economical side, which is the physical world. And if we do not make efforts to improve our plight, then the issue of the self may not even cross our minds. In the second verse, Zikr Allah is the opposite of Shaitan, and hence clearly differentiates the two aspects. We know about Hizbullah and Hizb Shaitan, so right in the same chapter 58, which refers to Hizbullah. Mu'mineen and Zikr connection. Awalam yakfihim anna anzalna alaykal kitaba yutla alayhim inna fi zalika la rahmatan wa zikra liqawmi yu'minun. Now, I thought this is important that because Zikr, Quran is Zikr, and by virtue of that, it becomes the book for mu'mineen, those who want to accept its guidance and then work for the system of deen. So it is important that some context should be provided between zikr and mu'mineen. And is it not enough for them that we have sent down to you the book which is recited to them? It's a very interesting question, and the Quran has drawn our attention, and very penetratively saying that, is it not enough that this book is complete? And then, of course, the answer is within that try it. Al-Kitab is complete. If you use your intellect and do a bit of zikr into it, you will be able to find out that the book is complete. Verily in it is rahmat, that is whatever nourishment you require in this life for yourself and for the system, then you will get it. And zikr for those who have iman. So that means we will understand this zikr or this context or the importance of zikr in this book if we have acquired iman. So this is the important point here. Atlu ma uhiya ilayka min al-kitabi wa aqimis salata inna salata tanha anil fahsha'i wal munkari wala zikrullahi akbaru wallahu ya'lamu ma tasnaun. We know about this verse as well. And over here it's very interesting. Recite what is sent of the book by wahi to you and establish salat. So system of salat is mentioned over here and linked to Allah's book. For verily salat restrains from shameful and unjust deeds. See, the law of requital is working here, that if we have a system of salat, then we will not have fasha and munkar in the society. And before the society is established, those who are on this path, they will also understand that what is fasha and what is munkar, and they will eliminate all those aspects from their own selves as well. And this will then lead them to understanding what really zikr is. Wala zikrullahi akbaru. And they should understand that this is the supreme zikr of what Allah has put forward. And in the religious context, they sometimes separate the two. That is, le zikrullahi akbaru, then they convert it into some kind of a tasbih, which is incorrect, because this should be read in one continuity from one aspect to the next aspect. Wallahu ya'lamu ma tasnaun. And over here, Quran has made it clear that if you try to tamper with it, Allah knows about it. Tasnaun means something which they try to concoct, in fact, manufacture using their own desires. Completeness of the Quran is part of zikr, i.e., by studying it, confirming this aspect as noted in 21:10, this then becomes rahmat as we accrue those benefits which are associated with it. Allah's zikr is declared to be everything, i.e., the Quran. Next is pure Quran challenges human desires and intellect. وَإِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَحْدَهُ أَشْمَأَزَّتْ قُلُوبُ الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْآخِرَةِ وَإِذَا ذُكِرَ الَّذِينَ مِن دُونِهِ إِذَا هُمْ يَسْتَبْشِرُونَ. And this is the state we see in our religious world. When Allah, the one and only, is mentioned, the hearts of those who do not have iman in the hereafter are filled with disgust and horror. And we see it when we talk about the pure Quran. People do not like it who are in the religious domain, because it goes against their wishes. But if we go outside the Quran and start talking about those material which has nothing to do with the Quran, then they feel satisfied. And we all know about this. And over here, Quran has pointed to this fact right at the beginning of time when the Quran was revealed. وَإِذَا ذُكِرَ الَّذِينَ مِن دُونِهِ. The moment we talk of other things other than the Quran, of the pure Quran, they feel very happy. They say, this is what Islam is. And we all have experienced it. وَجَعَلْنَا عَلَىٰ قُلُوبِهِمْ أَكِنَّةً أَنْ يَفْقَهُوهُ وَفِي أَذَانِهِمْ وَقْرًا وَإِذَا ذَكَرْتَ رَبَّكَ فِي الْقُرْآنِ وَحْدَهُ وَلَّوْا عَلَىٰ أَدْبَارِهِمْ نُفُورًا. So it is really providing the same verse is reinforced over here. And we put coverings over their hearts lest they should understand the Quran, and deafness into their ears when you do zikr of your Rabb and Him alone. So Quran over here says to Rasulullah and to us as well that when people don't listen to the Quran and they don't want it, just leave them alone, because they don't want it. They are not ready for it. And as a result, they cover their own hearts and they don't want to listen to this message. And I have seen it. People become very disgusted. They hate it. And they sometimes even can become verbally abusive. They turn on their backs, fleeing from the truth. They harm their own self. And the world which we have created, we can see the effects of those harms. Human beings find it hard to accept haqq as it goes against their desires. That is the basic point. Allah has created those desires, and we have to bring those desires within the confines of the wahi to benefit from this life as well as the life of the hereafter. If we do not bring our desires within the confines of the wahi, then we can get some benefits of this life, but those benefits will not continue in the hereafter. Some follow the line of least resistance. Human beings want quick results. They go for immediate benefits. They want to satisfy their desires as of today. And delayed gratification is very difficult to acquire, and wish quick results in life and assume life ends with death. The moment we think that the life will end with death, or we live our life as if life will end with death, that is the end of us, because then we are living dead according to the Quran. The important issue which needs our attention is that haqq exists, and our denial will not make it disappear. This is a fact. Hereafter exists. The Quran has pointed to us that we have a self which has the ability to survive our physical death, and there is law of requital functioning in this life. And all our deeds are accounted for. So whether we like it or don't like it, we reject it, we deny it, it makes no difference to Allah's laws. We will not be able to take advantage of it during our finite physical existence. Eminent consciousness through zikr of Allah. These are some interesting verses over here. Fazkuruni azkurkum washkuruli wala takfurun. Now these are again one of the not well used verse in the religious domain. Then you do my zikr. So Quran over here is saying that you remind yourself the purpose of your life, which Allah has spelled out to us. I will do zikr of you. So whole of Quran is Allah's zikr. If we do go through the Quran, understand it as we are trying to do that, and we are making significant progress in this respect. So essentially we are doing Allah's zikr, and Quran says Allah is doing our zikr. Do shukr and do not display kufr, and we know shukr is manifestation of our hard work in this life. Because once we are on the Quran, then our efforts start bringing those results which we couldn't have got without the Quranic guidance. And once we do that, then automatically we do not do any kind of a kufr. So we have to be aware of it, that if we go against these values, then loss is ours. So wahi plus education, plus training, plus self-development. So it is, I would like that if we can see verse 2, 151 as well, which is before it, and also the verse 153, which is following this verse. So things will become very clear. The context is clear. وَتَعْصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا وَاذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ إِذْ كُنْتُمْ أَعْدَاءً فَأَلَّفَ بَيْنَ قُلُوبِكُمْ فَأَصْبَحْتُمْ بِنِعْمَةٍ إِخْوَانًا وَكُنْتُمْ عَلَى شَفَا حُفْرَةٍ مِّنَ النَّارِ فَأَنْقَذَكُم مِّنْهَا كَذَلِكَ يُبَيِّنُ اللَّهُ لَكُمْ آيَاتِهِ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَهْتَدُونَ. We have gone through this verse as well before, earlier as well in some of our previous presentations. And hold firmly all together the rope of Allah and be not divided. And do zikr of Allah's ni'mat on you. That is interesting, that if we remove our differences in the light of the Quran, and that will be ni'mat of Allah. That will become ni'mat of Allah. That is what fazkuruni will mean, azkurukum washkuruli, because that is how our efforts will come out and manifest themselves successfully in our life. For you were enemies, and he joined your hearts in affection, so that by his ni'mat you became brethren, differences eliminated. So elimination of differences should be targeted, because wherever we have differences, we need to eliminate. Some basic issues is a different thing, that someone likes one kind of a food or another kind of a food, or the way we discussed our issue of greetings. That's a non-issue. If we want to use greetings, fine. If we don't want to use greetings, that is also fine, because that is more related to our choices, and that makes no difference as far as following the path of Allah is concerned. And you were on the brink of the pit of fire, and he saved you from it. And that is important, because differences lead to other problems, and we can never get united. If we don't get united, we can never work for the system of deen. Thus does Allah make his signs clear to you, so that you are guided. Absence of zikr leads to no self-development. وَآرَدْنَا جَهَنَّمَ يَوْمَئِذٍ لِلْكَافِرِينَ أَرْضًا الَّذِينَ كَانَتْ أَعْيُنُهُمْ فِي غِطَاءٍ عَنْ ذِكْرِي وَكَانُوا لَا يَسْتَطِيعُونَ سَمْعًا. And we shall present hell that day for kafirin to see all spread out. So kafirin are all those who are not in Hizbullah. Kafirin whose eyes had been under a veil from zikr of me, and who had been unable even to hear. The verses like that require our profound reflection, because we have to look at it and also look for evidence around us. Because a lot of this evidence comes before us once we talk to the people and we see their reaction. If we assume that, oh, everyone should be, if everyone is given this information about this guidance, then most of will come to this guidance. That is not a correct assumption, because the Quran says that since it goes against their desires, it is very difficult for people to come to the Quran. Even people, we have seen it, who come to the Quran, they also stop after a certain level of threshold. So these are the things which we have to keep it in mind on this path. وَمَنْ يَعْشُ عَنْ ذِكْرِ الرَّحْمَنِ نُقَيِّضْ لَهُ شَيْطَانًا فَهُوَ لَهُ قَرِينٌ. If anyone withdraws from the zikr of Ar-Rahman, we appoint for him a shaitan to be an intimate companion. This can be taken other way around, that the shaitan will be there if somebody doesn't come to the zikr of Allah or to the Quran. So this can be taken as cause and effect, and also can be taken, the effect can become the cause for the next step. Despite the signs of Allah all around us, if we pass these by and do not question the higher purpose of life, we will remain willfully blind and deaf, due to not collecting information and data in order to convert it into perceptual and conceptual knowledge. Here the Quran has summed up the human condition beautifully in 3 verses. So there are 2 verses here and 1 verse over here. Mu'mineen, keep it in front all the time. Rijalullah tulhihim tijaratum wala bayun an zikrillahi wa iqamis salata wa ita'i zakati yakhafuna yawman tatakallabu fihi al-qulubu wal absar. I've highlighted some of these points over here. What Quran says is, by men whom neither business nor merchandise can divert from the zikr of Allah. So whatever we are doing, Quran says that even when we are living in a non-deen society, whatever we are doing, we have to keep zikr of Allah, the values of the Quran and Allah's attributes in front of us, and we should manifest them irrespective of the fact where we are living, nor from the establishment of the system of salat, nor from the execution of zakat. So whatever, now over here we don't have a system of salat and we do not have an organized way of doing the system of zakat. But over here, as I take it, it will come under Amal Saleh. Their only fear, deep concern is for the day when hearts and eyes will be transformed. So over here, this can be taken positively, as well as if people do not follow the Quran, and as a result, then of course we leave this life, and depending on how our self is developed, we meet the consequences of it. So point over here is that we have to be aware of what is happening around us and within us in the light of the Quran. لَقَدْ كَانَ لَكُمْ فِي رَسُولِ اللَّهِ أُسْوَةٌ حَسَنَةٌ لِمَنْ كَانَ يَرْجُو اللَّهَ وَالْيَوْمَ الْآخِرَ وَذَكَرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا. You have indeed in the Messenger of Allah a balanced pattern of conduct of a human being for anyone whose hope is in Allah, that is the law of requital, يَرْجُو اللَّهَ, and the final day, that is Iman is referred here, and who engages much in the zikr of Allah. So Quran has over here drawn our attention that Allah's Rasul was a human being like you, and his model, what he did, and all his life and biography is given in the Quran from beginning to the end, because it was revealed to him, he understood it, shared it with his companions, those who accepted Iman, and then followed it, and then established the system. His life becomes a model for us, that if he could do it, then we can do it as well. That is one point. Second is over here, Quran has said, وَذَكَرَ اللَّهَ كَثِيرًا, said we should keep that in mind all the time. And this is an important aspect of zikr as put forward by the Quran, that because it is essentially the change within ourselves. And when the change comes within us, the outer world will change. Zikr helps to set our priorities right in life. Quran says, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu la tulhikum amwalukum wa la auladukum an zikrallah wa man yaf'al zalika fa ulaika humul khasirun. O mu'mineen, let not your wealth, that is including your possessions, and your progeny divert you from the zikr of Allah. Now it's an important point over here that possessions and children are part of living as human beings. But over here, Quran is asking us to set our priorities right. If we have come to the zikr of Allah, which is the Quran, then we have to pass on the message to them and then understand the importance of life, because life is going to, and then will go on to a different plane of existence. So next life is part of it. And the establishment of the system of deen is part of this struggle of ours in the light of the Quran. So all those things which then do not contribute to that, then of a lower priority, and these then become burden in carrying out the struggle for the system of deen. If any act like this, the loss is their own. And we have gone through these verses before as well. If one can see the subsequent verses as well, the things will become very clear. Next is wazkur rabbaka fi nafsika tadarruan wa khifatan wa dunal jahri min al qawli bil ghuduwi wal asali wa la takum min al ghafilin. And bring your Rabb to zikr within yourself with humility and reverence, without loudness and words in the mornings and evenings, and be not of those who are unheedful. That is, they do not become alim. So Quran puts a lot of emphasis, as we know, on knowledge seeking and then trying to follow its value system. So over here, Quran says, bring your Rabb to zikr within your own self. Again, the same point. And Rabb means the Rububiyat. So Rububiyat, about Rububiyat, there will be some kind of what you call, whether we say it loud, the Quran says, and this is more related to our day-to-day conduct. And without loudness and words in the mornings and evenings, that is keeping within us and also sharing it with others. And the Quran says that it has to be on a 24/7 basis. So once we become mu'min and once we become muttaqeen, then we are part of a different system. That is, we become part of Hizbullah. Three aspects of this zikr. First is wahaza zikru mubarakun anzalnahu afa antum lahu munkirun. And this is a zikr mubarak which we have sent down. Will you then reject it? We know about mubarak means that something which is established, standing firmly, and is also making nourishment and development within itself. Just like a tree, once it grows, then it grows and bears fruit, and then it is well established. And its roots are very deep. So this is how zikr does to us. If we follow it, then we become firmly established and then we grow. And then is وَمَا تَسَالُهُمْ عَلَيْهِ مِنْ أَجْرٍ إِنْ هُوَ إِلَّا ذِكْرٌ لِلْعَالَمِينَ. And no reward do you ask of them for this. We don't ask any reward because the reward is inbuilt. When we pass on the message, ourself develops. It is no less than a zikr for all the words. And Quran over here has beautifully called it Zikrul lil Alameen. It is for all times. Innama tunziru man ittaba zikra wa khashiya rahmana bil ghaibi fabashshirhu bimaghfiratin wa ajrin kareem. You can but admonish such a one as follows the zikr and is fearful of Ar-Rahman unseen. Give such a one, therefore, glad tidings of protection and reward, which is kareem. Now, this verse, I think we have discussed before as well. And is very clear that we have to just give it as a warning. And when we give it warning to others and admonish others, we actually admonish our own selves as well. When we pass it on to others, we actually remind ourselves as well, because that is more important. If I remind others, I'm reminding myself to remain firm. Khashir Rahman bil Ghaibe, which Quran has said that the nourishment and development of the self, and by coming together, then gradually the things start falling in place. Fearful does not mean over here that we should feel vulnerable and suddenly become some kind of a dread within us. Quran is about removing the fear. فَبَشِّرُوا بِمَغْفِرَاتٍ وَأَجْرٍ كَرِيمٍ. And that is how we get protection. And we understand how can we get protection within the system of deen. Even before the system of deen, once we are on this path, we get some kind of a protection. And Wajrin Kareem, and that is what, because we understand the importance of the human dignity, human eminence, and that is how we should take it. Zikr in the meaning of growth and development, zikr for all times for the whole of mankind, as a warning of the law of requital whose results can emerge very quickly. If followed, then protection and a kareem reward will ensue. Our gathering and dispersals need to involve zikr, because Quran is taking us from an individual to a collective system. And once it becomes a collective system, then it has certain discipline, it has certain needs, it has certain requirements. And the Quran over here, for example, in this verse from Surah Jummah, it says, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu iza nudiya lis-salati min yawmil jum'ati fas'aw ila zikrillahi wa zarul bay' zalikum khairul lakum in kuntum ta'lamun. O Jamaat-e-Mu'mineen, when the call is made for salat, for some purpose, some issue is to be discussed, something important has emerged, then on that day together, and they come together for that meeting, whatever time has been announced, hasten earnestly to zikr of Allah. So see, all the issues of life which are done in the light of the Quran will become zikr of Allah. And leave of business that is best for you if you but knew. And the next verse is, وَإِذَا قُضِيَتِ الصَّلَاةُ فَانْتَشِرُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ وَابْتَغُوا مِنْ فَضْلِ اللَّهِ. So all discussions which take place is called salat. So the Quran is explaining itself what is Hakim is Salat, what is the system of Salat. It prevents evil happening in the society, and then all the efforts which we make by coming together. Wabtagu min fadlillah, and the Quran over says, Iza qudiyatis salatu fantashru fil ardi wabtagu min fadlillah waskurullaha kathiran la'allakum tuflihun. So once the salat, which you had come together to discuss zikr of Allah, then you spread out in the earth. There's no holidays concept here. Wabtagu min fadlillah, and look for the fadl of Allah. And we have discussed fadl before. And that will also become zikr. Waskurullah kathiran, and during that always keep Allah's zikr in mind, because of course they will keep what has been decided in this gathering, that they will keep it in mind because that becomes part of their self, part of their memory. And as a result, what happens is la'allakum tuflihun, and when the salat is finished, then disperse through the land and seek the fadl of Allah. Keep zikr of Allah frequently in front of you so that your efforts bear fruition. Because our efforts should not go wasted. If we have lived this life, we have made an effort, then these should come to fruition. And it's all evidence-based. Following points are also covered under zikr. Now, obviously, I made a search, and the zikr is mentioned something like 298 times in the Quran. So all of those couldn't be possibly covered in one lecture. But these things will come before us as we will be proceeding in more detail in some parts of the Quran. In connection with Hajj, directed to do zikr of Allah. If a moment makes a mistake, then he reminds himself with the zikr of Allah. This aspect we have covered before. Do not obey those who become ignorant of Allah's zikr. When Musa was sent to Pharaoh, he was advised to keep Allah's zikr in mind, referring to the struggle in the path of Allah. So when Hazrat Musa went to Pharaoh, this aspect has also been covered, and chapter 20 covers it in a lot of detail. In relation to the rites of Hajj, sacrificing animals under the zikr of the name of Allah. In the battlefield, keep zikr of Allah in mind, that is his laws, and stay steadfast. So part of that is that if we have understood zikr of Allah and made it part of ourselves, then we must stay steadfast. Zikr of Allah takes place in masajid as well. So Quran has also referred to this where people take Allah's name as well. So that is also mentioning Allah's name is part of zikr of Allah. Mu'mineen and mu'minat do zikr of Allah. Their salient characteristic is noted in this particular verse. There are a number of other aspects in this verse. The Quran is made easy for zikr. Mu'mineen reflect profoundly in the Quran and do not accept it blindly. Though this is also part of zikr, that we should not accept and question everything which is given in the Quran and do not accept anything in the Quran blindly. The reason is that if we accept it blindly, then we are not able to look at the finer aspects which are covered in different terms used in the Quran and different contexts used in the Quran. Because Quran expands itself. If a system of deen is established today, we might need even more presentations even on the same subject, because the requirements of deen as a collective system will expand, and we have to then look at those aspects. The Quran is for the eminence of human beings, given human beings their due status. So wherever we have felt that I wish I knew that what potentials I have, we should go back to the Quran and look into it again. Right from beginning to the end, we will see different aspects coming before us. For those who wish to mend their ways, this is the zikr. Conclusions. Allah's laws are working everywhere in the universe, and human life is no exception to this. The Quran declares itself to be the zikr for man, i.e., whatever guidance is required for man to live this earthly life is spelled out in it. The term zikr is referred to in the Quran at numerous places, and in these verses it may be pointing to a particular aspect of human life. The meaning which should be taken of zikr in any verse should be by bearing in mind the context in which it is used. All aspects are not covered in today's presentation. I've already mentioned it. The Quran itself declares to be the zikr of man. In order to decipher this statement of fact, we need to see very carefully what the Quran is asking to become by following its guidance. So that is the important point for us, that what Quran is asking me to become. And this, the more it becomes clear to me, there will be more motivation, there will be a higher drive within me, and I'll make more efforts. And of course, then we all come together as we have come together, and we make efforts altogether. Allah created this universe with Adam possessing free will and took it on himself to provide guidance to everything of the universe except Adam. However, in the case of Adam, the guidance was and is provided as Wahi or the Quran. Whatever man needs for his guidance to live this life free from fear and grief is given in the Quran. So in the case, as I said, that in the case of Adam, in our case, Allah has provided guidance as an external book. This zikr of Allah cannot be carried out unless we as human beings develop ourselves using the Quran so that we can establish the system of deen. The prerequisite for this system is that developed self which has that level of eminence and loftiness which can manifest the divine attributes and has acquired the knowledge of the permanent values of the Quran. So that is the point I wanted to make in the light of the Quran, that it is the prerequisite. So zikr essentially should be seen in that context. And thanks for listening to this presentation.